If you saw Titane, you know the director, Julia Ducournau, does not play it safe. I surprisingly loved that movie. It was a metallic, gasoline-soaked fever dream that somehow found a heart. So naturally, I was looking forward to her latest, Alpha. And let me tell you right now, this movie is not interested in holding your hand. It drops you straight into a dystopian 90s nightmare without a map. It's raw, it's unflinching, and at times it gets a little lost in the sauce of its own ambition. Visually, it is outstanding. The atmosphere is thick enough to choke on, but if you're expecting the exact same adrenaline high as Titane, you need to adjust your expectations. This is a different beast entirely, quieter, sadder, and arguably much more confusing. The question isn't whether it's good, it's Julia Ducournau. Of course, there's brilliance here. The question is, does this abstract puzzle actually come together, or is it just style over substance? Let's talk about it. We are somewhere in coastal France. It feels like the 90s, but something is wrong. There is a contagious, blood-borne disease sweeping through the population that slowly turns people into marble. It's a terrifying concept that hangs over every single frame of this film. At the center of this crumbling world is our titular character, Alpha, played by Melissa Boros. She's 13, rebellious, and terrified. She's living with her single mother, a doctor who is overworked and reaching her breaking point treating these statue patients, and her uncle Amin, a heroin addict trying to get clean who just moved in with them. The film operates on two timelines simultaneously, and frankly, this is where you might get tripped up. I was a bit confused at first, but here's the key of tracking it. Look at the mother's hair. Curly means the past. Straight means the present. In the present, Alpha gets a stick and poke tattoo at a party, sparking a massive paranoia in her mother that she's contracted the marbled virus. In the past, we see the family history unraveling as the hospital runs out of beds and the uncle's addiction spirals. It's a coming-of-age story wrapped in body horror, using this stone sickness as a not so subtle allegory for the age crisis. The stakes are intimate. It's not about saving the world. It's about a family trying not to calcify under the weight of trauma. So we have a killer premise, a distinct visual style, and a director who refuses to compromise. But does it work? Let's talk about the look of the film, because this is the one thing the director understands, and it is texture. In an era where so much horror looks flat and digitally washed out, Alpha feels like you could reach out and scrape your hand on it. The cinematography here is gritty, tactile, and suffocating. The marble disease isn't treated like some CGI superpower. It's treated like leprosy. It's heavy. When you see a patient in the background of the mother's hospital ward turning into stone, it triggers the same visceral discomfort you got from the car sex scene in Titane or the raw meat in Raw. It's body horror, but it's elegant. There is a specific sequence involving a swimming lesson that really sells the visual language. You have Alpha isolated in the blue, chlorinated water surrounded by bullying classmates, while the threat of the red wind and the stone sickness looms outside. The color palette and the contrast between the sterile, cold blues of the hospital and the school against the warm, sickly reds of the dust storms and the nightclub scenes, masterful. It creates this dystopian 90s world that feels lived in and decaying. It's a vibe, absolutely, but it's a bad vibe. The kind that makes you feel like you need to take a shower after watching it. But we have to talk about the performances, because this is where the movie really sinks its teeth in. This is a raw, unflinching coming-of-age story, and it lives or dies on those actors. Golshifteh Farahani, playing the mother, is an absolute powerhouse here. She is playing a woman on the edge of a nervous breakdown for 2 hours straight. Her paranoia about Alpha getting sick isn't just a concerned parent energy, it's manic. There is a scene where she is so desperate to ensure that she and her daughter share the same fate that she cuts her own finger to exchange blood. And then you have the dynamic with the uncle Amin, played by Tahar Rahim. The relationship between Alpha, her mom, and this heroin-addicted uncle plays out so strangely. It's not your typical addiction drama. It feels like a ghost story before ghosts even show up. You don't know where it's going. The chemistry is jagged when Amin takes Alpha to the nightclub, a place filled with people who are sick and dying, but partying anyway. It captures that reckless, nihilistic energy of youth colliding with tragedy. I was really on board with this trio, and I found myself lost in their dysfunction. However, we do need to talk about the sauce, because I do think Alpha gets a little lost in the sauce. While I love that Ducournau doesn't play it safe, there is a line between ambiguous and overly abstract, and this movie dances right over it. The pacing in the second act sort of drags. We spend a lot of time in the loop of Alpha's panic attack, the bullying, the negative test, and the mother spiraling paranoia. It feels a little repetitive. And as I mentioned earlier, the time jumps. Once you figure out the hair trick, curly for past, straight for present, you're fine. But before that clicks, it's sort of disorienting, and not always in a good artistic way, but in a wait, is he dead or alive right now? The movie demands you do homework while you watch it. The allegory for the marble disease standing in for AIDS crisis is powerful, and it gives the film heart. But because the movie is trying to juggle the timeline, the social commentary, the body horror, and the coming of age drama, it sometimes feels like it's spinning too many plates. It doesn't quite reach the manic highs of Titane. It didn't surprise me the way Titane did. That movie felt like a car crash you couldn't look away from. Alpha feels more like a slow suffocation. This film is divisive. You're either going to vibe with the atmosphere and the sadness, or you're going to be frustrated by the lack of clear answers. So is Alpha worth your time? If you are a fan of A24 style horror, if you like films that prioritize atmosphere and dread over jump scares, and if you are willing to do a little bit of mental work to piece the timeline together, then yes, it is a visually outstanding piece of cinema with fantastic acting. It's flawed, it's messy, it's definitely probably too long, but it sticks with you. So I'm giving Alpha a 3.5 out of 5. It doesn't quite hit the masterpiece status of her previous work, but it proves that Julia Ducournau is still one of the most interesting voices working in the genre today. But did you see Alpha? Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Did the timeline confuse you? Did you catch the hair trick right away? Check out my ending explained video above. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing and consider joining our YouTube memberships. And I'll see you in the next one.